In this video, we're going to show you how to install the cooling fan on your Nissan Versa, located on the front side of your engine compartment. We're going to go ahead and remove our air intake tube here. We're going to use our trim tool and remove the button right here that's holding this in place. There's normally two here, but ours is missing one. If you have both, remove both. I'm going to lift up on this. I'm going to also remove the silencer box over here. Just gently pull up. And then the tube goes back to the air filter box. I'm going to wiggle that out. Let's go ahead and remove the forward portion of our air intake. I'm going to pull up on the box right here. Use our trim tool. We want to disconnect this back portion right here. Now I did grab a catch can or a bucket here to go ahead and catch any residual fluid that we're going to drain out of this reservoir when we pull it up. Right on the front side here, there's a plastic retainer tab that's flexible. You're going to push that back towards the engine. At the same time, pull up. That'll allow this to come up. Bring this on over to your catch can. You're going to disconnect this here. Sometimes it might be easier just to open up the cap. Drain out that fluid. Now that we have a reservoir removed and we have it drained out, that's going to reduce the risk of us spilling any fluid around the engine. Go ahead and set that aside. We're going to remove the hose off of the radiator here. We're going to disconnect this hose here from the radiator. It's going to make it easier for us to pull up the cooling fan up and out. Now we did put a drain bucket underneath to catch any residual coolant that may be coming out of this here. Pinch that. I'm going to give this a little twist. Break that free. Make sure that coolant or the bucket is underneath. And we're just going to let a little bit dribble out here. I'll have to go ahead and grab a securing strap. We're just going to tuck that up out of the way and anchor that someplace else to hold that hose up. Next, we want to go ahead and disconnect the electrical connector to the cooling fans on the driver's side of the fan. Electrical connector up top right here. You want to push in on this tab. Sometimes it can be stuck, so I like to use a pair of pliers here. Just be careful. You don't want to crack the plastic, so gently pinch and just wiggle that off. Next one is a gray connector down below. It's a large connector. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push in on the top of this tab and pull up on the connector. We're going to use our trim tool to go ahead and pop this little plastic retainer off of that electrical strap here. Just tuck that off to the side. On the top of our fans is going to be two 10mm bolts, one on the driver's side, one over on the passenger side right here. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove those. Now that we have those two out, go ahead and set them aside. We have a wiring harness right here that comes through and it's keeping us from pulling the fan out. We're going to go ahead and remove the harness with this plastic retainer. And in the mirror you can see there's a little black tab in the center of that metal bracket and there's a little arrow pointing to it. We're going to use a pick or a small pocket screwdriver to go ahead and push in on that and then slide this whole harness retainer off of that bracket. This harness comes around to this back harness here. There's a retainer right here. We're going to use our trim tool to release this back harness here. All right, go ahead and pop that off and pull that aside. And while you're pulling that aside, you can grab that harness and pull that off. Now when we lower our radiator fan down into position, there's two tabs on the bottom that are going to go into the two tabs on our radiator. We want to make sure that those line up properly. Let's go ahead and lower this down. At this point here, our fan is lowered down into our radiator. Install our two 10mm screws to secure this in place. I'm not going to tighten this one down yet. Install the screw on the other side, on the driver's side here. And it's nice if you don't tighten down the other side, it gives you some adjustability to lift and lower the cooling fan to line that up properly. Now we can go ahead and snug these down. Just once that bottoms out, just a hair bit more. We don't want to crack or cause any damage to the plastic here. Do the same here. Once that screw is bottomed out, that's pretty much it. Pull that harness off that we had tucked away. We're going to install our lower connector first. Go ahead and line that up. Go ahead and push that down all the way. Give it a little wiggle, make sure it's secured in there properly. Line this one up here. Push that in. Go ahead and push that in, and you'll feel it lock into place. Install our upper radiator hose. Go ahead and adjust the clamp here and slide that over. Go ahead and line that up, release that. Install the hose on the radiator. Lower our expansion tank down inside. And when we lower this down, there's a tab on the bottom that fits into the cooling fan. I'm going to lower that down, and on the top side, there's two tabs here that lock into our radiator. So there's 3 points of securing this. Push it down into place. We want to go ahead and top off our tank here. So I'm going to open this up. And on the side there is a min and a max. At this point here, the engine is cold. We're going to fill it up to the max using the proper coolant for the vehicle. Go ahead and fill this up. And put on the cap. Install our air intake components here. Install your two plastic clips on the front. Our original push pins were damaged, so we just had to source a couple new ones. At this point here, you can go ahead and take the vehicle for road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.